We have Dr. Monty Burks joining us. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Today we gather to celebrate an awesome program, an awesome cause. I'm a person with lived experience. By the grace of God, I'm 22 years free from the bondage and chaos that almost consumed me and my family. Homelessness, addiction, depression were no match for my relationship with God. When I say lived experience, I suffered from substance use disorder, substance misuse, and a clinical diagnosis of depression. By the grace of God, I was given the resources to be able to pull myself up by the bootstraps that in the beginning did not exist. I respect programs like this and people like you. Somebody has to stand in the gap. Bow our heads, please, as we pray. Father, we have gathered to share a meal in your honor. Thank you for putting us together as family. We thank you for the nourishment that only you can provide. Thank you for your spiritual presence to meet our needs of hunger and thirst. You are mighty and strong and sustain our minds and bodies. Father, forgive us for taking simple joys for granted sometimes, and bless this food to fuel our bodies forward into your will for our lives. We pray that we will be energized and able to work together for the glory of your kingdom. Help each member of our family use our anointing gifts to glorify your name in your presence. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Let's have breakfast in his name. Amen.
Good morning, everyone, once again. I know it's hard to interrupt a Cracker Barrel breakfast, but I'm going to do my best here. Welcome to the annual Love Breakfast. I am Tracy Levine, Healing Housing's Executive Director. This year is especially exciting because we're celebrating our 5th anniversary. That's 5 years of sheltering and loving women healing from addiction in Middle Tennessee. Healing Housing is a nonprofit residential recovery community serving women with limited resources. Our 2 homes provide a supportive, affordable, sober living environment and life-changing services where women can recover and thrive. Many of you were there with us in the very beginning. As our event chair, Pat Rawls, always says, Healing Housing started with love. So it is with tremendous love and gratitude that we share this anniversary with all of you. I also want to offer a special welcome to those of you who are new to our community and those of you joining us online. By continuing to grow this circle, you will help more women heal in the years to come. As I was preparing for today, reflecting on the past 5 years, I was thinking about what makes the Love Breakfast so special. There are a few recovery phrases that kept coming to mind, concepts that help us define or redefine what love and healing look and feel like. These are universal principles that are true for all of us. The main one that's on my heart today is the idea of showing up. We teach women in early recovery that the principle of honesty includes showing up for people, to be there for our friends, community, and ourselves. It's a powerful and loving act to show up when someone needs you, to be there when you say you'll be there. One community that has shown up since day one is our strategic ministry partner and today's venue sponsor, Brentwood United Methodist Church. Thank you for your steadfast love and support. Thank you also to our presenting sponsor, Integrative Life Center. Their generous support means that every dollar raised this morning will go directly to helping women heal from addiction. And to our grant matching sponsor, every dollar you give today will be matched up to $20,000 thanks to Churchill Mortgage. We are so grateful. For 5 years, this community has shown up in love as attendees, donors, foundations, patrons, social media friends, and in prayer circles. You've brought hot dinners and warm blankets to the women we serve. Even during a pandemic, you kept showing up in new and bigger ways. You've loved the women of Healing Housing until they could love themselves. This morning, we are so excited to tell you about how far we've come and to share our hopes and dreams for the next 5 years and beyond.
My name's Olivia Smith. I'm a native Nashvilleian and I'm the founder of Healing Housing. So we started Healing Housing in 2015 and we opened our doors to the first participant April Fool's Day of 2017. So we worked for 2.5 years before we opened our doors, and then that was the beginning. In 2014, I was volunteering at the women's prison in a ministry, and we were paired one-on-one with inmates. So the girl that I was paired with was going to be released fairly soon after I completed my work with her. Through the 8 weeks that I worked with her, I just really felt a connection to her. And her story was that she wanted to start over. She didn't want to go back home to her old haunts. She wanted to have a fresh start in Nashville. She had no financial resources, no family to fall back on. She truly was alone. Then ended up going to the church, Brentwood Methodist Church, and we ended up forming a core group of women. As we did our research, it became very clear that the main need for women in recovery who had no financial means was housing, because the treatment centers would take them in, they'd do their 28 days in treatment, and then when the women would get out of treatment, they would just cycle right back to the circumstances from which they came and wind right back up in treatment again. So it was sort of a vicious cycle going on, and they said unless we have a place to send a woman after treatment, there's little or no chance that she's going to get any better. So Healing Housing was formed with housing in mind. We didn't want to just start an organization to start one. We wanted to start an organization to make sure we were meeting the needs of the women we wanted to serve, and housing just came to the top of the list of the needs. Several of the pastors became very instrumental in the beginning in pointing me in directions, mainly to help me meet other women in the church who might be on this journey together, and so that became the core group, and it all started by an introduction from Davis to another pastor at church.
The success rate that we're seeing with folks who are actually being helped and then finding their way in a new venture is really remarkable. I think I heard that the latest maybe success rate was around 81% or so. That's remarkable. That doesn't happen very often. And I think a large part of that is because it's a much more holistic approach. We're not just addressing one issue or two issues. We're trying to look at the whole person. And their engagement in that, their willingness, I think is one of the things that really helps to distinguish Healing Housing from other kinds of ministries like that.
Knowing that the church was there to back us up was just a huge part of how we were able to get started.
Whether you have ever been in recovery, the truth is everybody, every family has issues around addiction and recovery, and so that's a sweet spot for almost everybody. But somebody has to walk out on that branch. not everybody's willing to walk out on that branch, but there's a ton of people who will try to hold that branch if you walk out on it, but you can't turn back. And she didn't, and that's a pretty cool thing.
My name is Pat Rawls, and I have been a volunteer with Healing Housing since before it began. Well, I was one of the fortunate people who Olivia put together to pray and plan for 2.5 years before Healing Housing opened. So 5 years, what I think about is really and truly about 150 faces of people who've come through our doors. And if I could tell you the number of them who first say, when they first walk in, they go, "I feel love," which is amazing because that's what was poured into it from the very beginning, but we never exactly knew if it would result in that. And to think of all the things that these women go through, to be able to walk into a space and feel love, that's a good start.
And I'm a 2018 graduate of Healing Housing. I grew up right here in Williamson County. It's amazing to think about how Healing Housing has grown since I was a participant. Some things are still the same. Women with no money and broken relationships are given a warm bed and welcomed home with love. And other things about the program have changed in incredible ways. I worked on staff as a case manager after graduating from the program, so I saw firsthand how adding vital services helped strengthen a woman's recovery. I'm excited to introduce to you our keynote speaker today. She is an acclaimed singer, songwriter, producer, and author who has been nominated for an Oscar and a Grammy, and whose memoir, Blood, resonated so deeply with us that we knew we had to ask her to be here. As one review said, Blood delves into the meaning of inheritance and destiny, shame and trauma, and how it is possible to carve out a safe place in the world despite it all. I can relate. Healing Housing helped me carve out my safe place in the world. I was only 16 when I went to rehab for the first time, and for the next 10 years, I was in and out of 11 treatment centers. I gave birth to a son who I couldn't care for and whose dad died of an overdose. The chance to live somewhere safe and affordable for 6 months and to receive the services that I needed and be a part of a loving community changed everything. Today, I have custody of my son, who will be 10 next month, and a wonderful job working in the recovery field. Each of you here today, in person and streaming online, are part of what makes Healing Housing so special. We want to thank our bronze sponsors, Coca-Cola Consolidated, Williamson Medical Center, and the Keith Dixon Foundation for your support. And now I'm so happy to introduce to you Allison Moorer.
Thank you, Morgan. And good morning, friends. My name is Allison. I'm 49 years old. I'm an artist, author, songwriter, friend, sister, wife, and mother. I've recorded albums, toured the world, written 2 books, and earned a master's degree. I'm also a trauma survivor, an abuse survivor. I've been an orphan since I was 14, and I'm a mother to a child with severe special needs, and I'm on my 3rd and hopefully final marriage. So it's been a bit of a rocky road, but I'm still here. And you are here, still. I sat at my dining room table on Friday, perched there because it is in the middle of my house, and it allows me to see all of the creatures that live in my house. Mostly my son, who I must keep a careful eye on, thinking what on earth I could possibly say to you this morning that would be worthwhile. My life felt like a mess, as it often does. And then my mind drifted to a book that I had read recently called Where the Crawdads Sing. Now, this book had sat on my shelf for about 2 years. My cousin sent it to me. I didn't like the title. I thought, well, I know it's popular. I should probably read it. I'll get to it. So the other day, it called to me for some reason. And she said, I think you will love this book, and I think that you'll relate to the main character, Kaya. But it languished there for over 2 years. And I think before I decided to give myself the gift of reading as many novels as I want to in this, the year of my 50th birthday, I was a little wary of it. But I dug in. And I was completely wrong about this book. Didn't love everything about it, but my cousin was right. I did relate to Kaya. Kaya grew up in a remote part of the country, much like I did. I spent my first 12 years living in rural South Alabama in a place that didn't have as much as a stop sign, much less a red light. It was isolated, to say the least. And Kaya grew up in an even more remote situation. Her family abandoned her one by one, first her mother, then her sisters and brothers, and finally her abusive alcoholic father, until she was left to live alone in the shack that they'd all once occupied together. She fended for herself by selling what she caught in the South Carolina marsh she loved so well, and keeping herself company with the incredible wildlife that surrounded her and almost seemed to accept her as one of their own. They were her only companions, save for a boyfriend for a year or two when she was a teenager. For decades, she lived alone. She was damaged by her experience. Her father had been addicted and violent. Losing her family made her wary of the outside world and most people. But she did the best out of what she could. I'd go far to say as she made more than what she could out of her best. She did the best I think anyone could have done. She studied, she learned to paint like her mother had. She learned to read and write with the help of the boyfriend and became a renowned expert on the animals whose natural habitat was her home as well. The story was inspiring and moving, if terribly sad. I ended up dissatisfied with the way it ended. But the book made an impression on me, and I still think about Kaya. And I've been finished with the book for over a month. These are the stories that stay with us, these stories of survival and perseverance and the ability to thrive. My favorite passage from the book is this one. She looked at the painting, so pastel, so peaceful. Somehow Ma's mind had pulled beauty from lunacy. Beauty from lunacy. And that's, I think, a huge point. My mother had been badly abused by my father. Kaya's mother had been badly abused by her father. Her mother left. It took Kaya years to find out that she never returned for her because she'd been told if she did, all of the children that were still there would be beaten until they were unrecognizable. Aha. That's it. I never had to fend for myself or dig for mussels to get grits money to feed myself. I had help. But I know what it's like to lose a family. I lost both of my parents when I was 14 years old. My abusive alcoholic father showed up in the middle of the night to the house that my mother had rented to get away from him. And he ended up killing her and himself with the rifle that he kept under the cushion in his vehicle. And he did this in the front yard of my house. I was sleeping just one wall away when it happened. And this is when I thank Healing Housing for the work that you do and the work that you have done for the past 5 years. Thank you, Olivia Smith, for taking this on. Thank you, Tracy Levine. Thank you, Deb Marklin. Thank you all. Women who are trying to recover can't do so if they go back into the same situations that kept them sick in the first place. Safe and sane lives are simply out of reach without safe housing, and I'm a testament to that. My mother's life is a testament to that. If she had had somewhere to go that was safe, she might be alive. What kind of life my mother might have had beyond the 41 years that she was allowed is definitely on my mind right now. My father's sister and her husband took me in for my remaining years of high school. And after that, I went on my way, trying to figure out how to make a life for myself when I had no role models. No one's expectations to live up to. I have a saying about being an orphan. You've got no one to answer to, and you also have nowhere to go for Christmas. But I knew I had light in me. I knew I had a chance. My parents were troubled, addicted people from long lines of troubled, addicted people. But they also instilled some things I learned on. They also instilled in me some things I leaned on. There are some things to lean on after they were going to get through. A love of art and the understanding that making a life out of it with intention could work. The willingness to show up and help myself, and they gave me the ultimate challenge. Unless I was willing to settle for a life of dysfunction and despair and addiction, because I have all of their traits and then some, trust me. That's how this works, doesn't it? I had to learn how to make my own beauty from lunacy. Just like Kaya did, just like Kaya's mother did. I'm not certain of much, but I know that a contented life is one that not only allows, but seeks joy and beauty. Because it is joy and beauty that gets us from moment to moment with any grace at all. Noticing a bird or a butterfly, oohing and ahhing over a flower, delighting in some silly thing that makes you warm inside that no one else knows about. Dancing in the kitchen, dancing in the front yard, or dancing in the grocery store, even though you are most of the time brokenhearted and feel completely lost, as you take the chance every day of your life to bravely and freely say, I don't need you anymore. I don't need these defense mechanisms that drag me down. It's sometimes our brokenheartedness that allows us to find those tiny molecules of hope that keep getting us through from one minute to the next. Those of us who come from addicted families, and most of us do, know how good we can be at finding those tiny molecules. So that's the good news. When we look at, oh my gosh, where I came from, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to dig through all of this stuff because there's so much and there's so much baggage, and it can seem overwhelming. But I am in full belief that we are able to turn those things around, because when you grow up in an addicted family that tells you what you see and what you feel and what you hear are not real, we begin to distrust our own voices. We begin to distrust our own judgment. And we have to get that back. We're tough. We're wizened. We have to figure out on a daily basis how to channel those defense mechanisms into positive tendencies that allow our true essences to come forth, rather than allow what our sweet little selves got covered up with in the name of protecting those sweet little selves. We had no choice when we were back there in those situations. We do now. Maybe the trick is to get up every day and decide to do that with the best of intentions, rather than lament what we might lack. I got lucky and got some opportunities that most people don't get. But the best parts of what I've made from those opportunities are filled with results of not luck, but being willing to feel joy and find hope in the hopeless. to find beauty in what I have left and what I can make on my own with my family now, and learn to respect the center of myself, which is a simple human truth and right that I had been told by my family of origin to ignore. That's what addiction does to a family. We can't handle the real stuff. We have to cover it up with the numbers in order to keep who we really are hidden, because we have so little self-love that we don't think anyone will love us. And it simply isn't true. To be in a family that doesn't encourage you to be your sweetest and most vulnerable self can snuff out your joy. But we know that it can be found at any time because it's within us. Your pain and what brought you here isn't meaningless, no matter how it came. Your stories are not to be ashamed of, no matter what they are, but rather held as treasured experience that will help keep pushing you forward to find grace, joy, and beauty in the lunacy. Because if we know one thing, there's always lunacy. Let's make it as beautiful as we possibly can.
Thank you so much, Allison. That was beautiful. And I think for my healing housing community here today, we are going to have some good laughs this week about lunacy. I like that. I think we have some shared common experiences there. And I really love what you said about hope in the hopeless. I know that as a community, we find hope in one another, and when one is down, the other is up, and we lift each other, and hope is always there, so thank you. As we just heard from Allison, our new best friend, addiction is a family disease. If we were to ask for a show of hands, I imagine most of you could tell a personal story of how addiction to drugs or alcohol has impacted your life or the life of someone you love. As someone celebrating 23 years of sobriety this year, I know firsthand that the ripple effect of one woman's recovery is impossible to measure. We're here, both in person and online, to celebrate our tremendous growth as an organization. But to paint a complete and accurate picture, we have to acknowledge the challenges that we've all faced in recent years. The World Health Organization just released a study that said, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, global anxiety and depression increased by a massive 25%. And when people are isolated, anxious, and depressed, they often reach for something to self-medicate. More than 100,000 Americans died of drug overdoses in 2021, up almost 30% from the year before. More than car crashes and gun fatalities combined. And what about here in Tennessee? In the first year of COVID, fatal overdoses right here increased by 44%. That's a staggering statistic. Our work at Healing Housing has never been more important. When we opened 5 years ago, none of us could have imagined something like the COVID pandemic. Thankfully, we're taught in recovery to stay teachable and to accept the things we cannot change. So we listened and learned and adopted new strategies that have garnered amazing results. There were definitely dark days, but we kept showing up and loving each other through it. So while the statistics are daunting, I'm always grateful to share about how Healing Housing offers a solution. Since opening, we have provided affordable, sober living and services to more than 150 women healing from addiction. And 81% of them have stayed sober during their participation in our program. That's an extraordinary success rate. Every dollar you give today will be matched up to $20,000 to help us welcome the next 150 women. We have a model that works, and we want to scale our impact. Today, we hope to raise $200,000 and to continue this life-saving work. Thanks to those of you streaming in and giving online, and to our sponsors, including First Horizon Bank, for helping us move toward that goal. And I want to give a very special thanks to our newly formed Welcome Home Patron Circle, led by Doctors Ralph and Jane Roach. Because of the generosity of our patrons, the first 9 weeks of Healing Housing resident stay will be covered this year at no cost to the women. So each participant can fully focus on herself and her recovery. As I mentioned earlier, the recovery principle of showing up has really been on my heart lately. What does it mean to truly show up for the women we serve? To open our doors to them when they are most in need, to say that we are here to help, and follow by providing them with the resources they need to show up for their own recovery. I'm excited for you to see this next video, produced by our also new best friends, Impact Media, which gives you a closer look into the ways Healing Housing has grown and evolved over the past 5 years, and how we've learned to show up for the women we serve in new and better ways.
When I look back at what we've accomplished since the doors opened, I'm so proud of all of it. My name is Tracy Levine. I'm the Executive Director at Healing Housing. We are a sober living community for women healing from alcohol and substance use disorder. You know, when I first came to Healing Housing and started my work there, you know, my first thought is, 16 beds, you know, knowing what the numbers are with addiction, like what is 16 beds going to accomplish? And boy, have I been humbled and changed by that story, because for every one of those 16 women, there are children involved, there are family members involved, there's community, there's workforce. You know, I had to look at it from sort of a more macro lens of what the ripple effect of one woman's sobriety means. And it's hugely impactful. And so as I look over, you know, to date that we've helped 150 women, and if you consider the cyclical aspect of this disease, and the truth is it is a family disease. And I know it firsthand, because I know when the women get to go visit their children, I hear the stories, I see the cards, and I always say to the women, my gosh, you're bringing back this, you know, this incredible version of you. It's truly remarkable, and I love that you know, it translates into so many people being helped.
My name is Carnella Mitchell. My relationship with Healing Housing is that I have a daughter who is in the program currently. And she talks very often about when I finish the program, you know, I'll be ready to get out on my own. I want to look for a place on my own. I want the children to come with me and stay with me because I'll be ready. The program is so aligned to helping women every step of the way through their recovery.
This year is especially exciting as we celebrate our 5th year of our doors being open to serve women seeking recovery. And it's been a beautiful evolution to see our mission and our branding evolve as we've evolved. and really all of us as an organization honing in and really looking at what do we really do. And I think that our mission is so beautifully simple. We shelter and love women healing from addiction. And to celebrate that in our 5th year of having our doors open, I mean, it truly is, you know, an aha moment. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Healing Housing meets participants where they're at with grace and compassion. And in my own experience, Healing Housing gave me love until I was able to love myself. Healing Housing gave me a life worth living and the tools to continue to build on that life. And it actually gave me the gumption to do more and like a belief within myself that I was capable of doing more and different than I'd ever done. My name is Ashlyn Lambert, and I am the Program Treatment Coordinator at Healing Housing. I am in the unique position of having been a participant at Healing Housing and now working there. All of the requirements of participants are things that I've had to do. Any of the kind of like struggles or difficulties that come with community living, I've experienced those, but I'm able to watch people come to a place of surrender where they've actually decided that they're done with the old way of living. We call it watching the light come on. So you can see it in their face, you can see it in the way that they carry themselves, how they stand, how they talk, and how they interact with other people. Healing Housing gave me an opportunity to focus on myself, to focus on finding God, to focus on creating and developing relationships that I'd never experienced before.
When a woman comes to Healing Housing now, where we're at now in 2022, she has 9 weeks of absolutely no cost involved. She's enrolled in our intensive outpatient program. She is asked and encouraged to rest, relax, and heal during those 9 weeks to put her recovery above all else. And that truly, I mean, I have to just take a moment to say, think about that. Where else, for folks on the margins, is there a place that we're not saying, you know, money is everything? We're saying, we cherish you, and your recovery, your health, your recovery journey is the most important thing you can do for yourself, for our community, for your family, and we want you to prioritize that. And we will take care of everything else. It's on us.
One of the biggest differences between Healing Housing and other programs is that they required nothing from me other than my willingness to be able to enter the program. I didn't have the financial means to be able to go somewhere. And really, I think that the relief that comes from not stressing about finances when coming in is definitely something that's different about Healing Housing.
My name is Angela Good. I am a current board member on the board and as well as an alumni from the program. Healing Housing accepts women where they're at. The moment you walk into those doors, so much love is wrapped around each and every participant that comes through the program. And I think what makes it so unique is that, you know, this program is there to serve. Has no other mission but to be able to be there for those women and get them through that period of transition. So I think that is very unique to Healing Housing.
If they're going to have a dental crisis, it's during those first 9 weeks. So wisdom teeth pulled, crowns, anything, but we're okay. We've got you covered, we'll get it fixed, because again, the women coming to us, there has been years of neglect on physical, emotional, spiritual level. We recognize with long-term addiction that brain chemistry has changed, so we want to make sure that they are seen and evaluated immediately. And we have follow-up visits, so when we're adjusting medication, we know that things change, especially quickly in early recovery. So we follow up with our psychiatric nurse practitioner to make sure that they're seen monthly and that we're adjusting meds, and as a treatment team we're talking all of that through. That's a huge jump from where Healing Housing started as a sober living community to more of a treatment facility.
I know when Kristen talks to me about it, she tells me about everything that's available to her, And through this support, Kristen has, I mean, when they talk about the whole person, you have physicians are giving her opportunities to go to a primary care physician or a specialist. So it has just been the best for her.
And I've seen firsthand, both as a participant and as a staff member, where funds go and where they're allocated in that program, be it therapy or a first set of groceries or clothes for a job interview. I would say that right now, the resources that we're able to provide to the participants that come into Healing Housing is really what sets us aside from any other program.
One of the other amazing improvements to our program this past year has been our partnership with another nonprofit in Nashville called Uprise. When I was introduced to Uprise Nashville and learned that they provided not only vocational training but counseling, there's a spiritual aspect to their program, there's financial mentorship and budgeting classes. It opened up a whole new door for the women of Healing Housing to go back to school.
Uprise is a career development program for people who are unemployed and underemployed in our city. My name is Carol Peterson and I'm the Executive Director of Uprise Nashville. Our goal is to help individuals get connected with opportunities through education, short-term education that leads to careers with upward mobility.
We do that by bringing them into a short training camp where they learn a lot of the basic soft skills and they get to work with world-class coaching, and then they're able to go into that field and begin to move forward and really just grow. And so that's what we do. We're in the people growth business. That's how I'm gonna say it from now on. Yeah, people growth business.
One area in particular that we don't do is helping people who are in drug recovery. And so Healing Housing does that really, really well. They help individuals become whole again. And then when Healing Housing deems it to be the right time, they refer those individuals to us so that we can take them to the next step and to make sure that they're able to provide for themselves, give them the ability to provide for their family, give them the ability to afford an apartment, and to have a career maybe in a place where they never thought possible.
A lot of times with Uprise, we're balancing not just careers, but housing, transportation, and all these things that could easily throw somebody off track. We know our partnership with Healing Housing is taking care of some of the other things in the background. And so to have people who that part is taken care of, where they're supported there, and we're able to really work with them on career. And our hope is that as we walk together, these ladies are going to land at a great place.
This year we had 8 of these ladies come to our training camp class, and it's really been a blessing and a joy to have them in our class and to have them share and be so open about where they've been and so excited about where they're going.
And a lot of the coaching that we do in tandem together is just, reinforcing what they hear at the house. You can do this. You're well worth the energy that we're putting in. We believe that you can do it. You have the skills. Let's go.
Healing Housing in the model of the continuum of care and addiction is often the most overlooked and most important part of recovery. So when a woman is seeking treatment, they're typically going to a residential rehab it's a 28-day program. And from there, most women, because there is no affordable options for sober living, go back to the environment in which they came. This is where Healing Housing steps in and offers sober living based on 12-step structure with a suite of program services that I talked about earlier. And our program is 6-month minimum to a year maximum right now. What we're seeing is a huge marker in what I feel is an achievement as our organization is that women are choosing to stay longer. They are seeing the results of all of this holistic approach to their recovery starting to come together. I guess we would say in 12-step recovery, it's the promises that are coming true, and they get to see those happen. Again, every client that I have ever spoken to, when they let me know on assessment what trauma they have lived through. And my follow-up question is, did you ever receive help for this? It is always no. I've never addressed this with anybody. So how can we treat a disease without treating the root of the problem, right? Like, we have to holistically look at all of this.
My name is Stephanie Bergeland, and I'm a therapist with Bright Horse Counseling, and we are in a partnership with Healing House to provide individual therapy as well as group therapy sessions to the ladies there. Trauma-informed care is interacting with every human being with the idea that everybody has gone through challenges and everybody has experienced adversity to one degree or another. Some people, especially with those that have struggled with substance use, that has had a harder impact on them. It's been more intense. And so it's really looking at people with the idea that everybody is seeking to meet a need. Every single person. Some people, when they were younger, they got coping skills to have healthy communication or coping skills to manage overwhelming emotions. And some people, not only did they go through those adversities, but they were not taught healthy coping. They weren't even given a space to talk about the hard things that were happening. When people kind of understand that more, then I think it takes the morality, discussion off the table. This is not a marker of character. It is a marker of a physiological disease. So I think it is one, having really clear boundaries, but instead of saying, you have to have a curfew because you're an addict and you don't know what's best for you, that's kind of the old school way. Trauma-informed is saying, we're gonna have a curfew because I want you to be safe, because I want for you to learn structure, because you weren't given structure. So now we're gonna provide that, but I'm gonna give you the why for it. Trauma-informed is also learning about the nervous system and how we co-regulate. And so how important it is for me as a clinician to have a really calm, grounding presence so that someone else whose nervous system doesn't know what safety is, doesn't know, what being calm or stable or healthy relationship. It's really important as a clinician for me to set that tone for them so they can start to start to have that sense of safety in the room. I would say, as someone that knows what it's like to be newly sober and to not have any examples to the left or the right of me of what sobriety is supposed to look like, I wish that I had gone to a place like this. These women in their relationships, they have the opportunity to heal each other. I love this idea in recovery that we heal in circles, not rows, and they are able to really hang on to each other. And I think that when there's a community that's fostered to be a long-term relationship, many of these women have never experienced the opportunity to have healthy, stable relationships, and Healing House really gives them the opportunity to have that. And I believe that, that's more than anything that I can ever give as a therapist, is what these women can do for each other in the right environment.
Kristen's story is a very long and involved story. She was my little girl who kind of marched to the beat of her own little drum. As a mother, I would talk to her and just tell her, well, you just say no. But little did we know that it just ran so much deeper than that. It was not easy just to say no. I immediately met the director, the executive directors, Tracy, and the very first time I uttered a word to them, their response to me was so positive. It was so uplifting. I felt that I was healing right then and there in that moment. So far, we thank God that she has been there a little over 6 months and she's doing well. She's grateful. She talks to us about gratitude. She seems to be goal setting, and she seems to be working towards something that's healthy and that's bigger than what she has been floundering in. It is the right place. It is the perfect place. The program is so aligned to helping women every step of the way through their recovery. Love lives here, and it does live there. It's just been fantastic.
Our population, the underserved, have spent a lifetime trying to make it. And for us to be able to say, thanks to our donor base, truly, put your recovery first, put your health first, we've got you. That is because of our donor base. That is because of our faith family. That is because of our greater community. I mean, I can tell you as the executive director and the chief person on fundraising, thank you. I mean, thank you. I feel like the luckiest parent in the world because I get to say, don't worry about it. If your tooth hurts, guess what? We fix it. It's a great feeling. And I can't thank our donor base enough for that.
The difference between what we were when we opened and what we are now is astonishing. And what we were when we opened was incredible. And, to be a part of these stories, just a teeny minor part, and even just an observer of the changes in people, I get to see that every day. Miracles happen every day.
We are so grateful for every single prayer, every single thought, and being in recovery is really hard. But when you have the wings of all the people behind you to kind of uplift you in those dark times, it means so much. And so it really goes beyond just what you see in front of you. The things and the love and the people that came through those doors, just because it grows your heart.
They have the right personnel in place, who have the right vision in place, and I can't say too many good things about Healing Housing.
So the support, not only from staff, but from the volunteers of Healing Housing have tremendously impacted my life. Healing Housing gave me the space and time to actually develop a life worth living.
To be with 150 women so far in 5 years. You've already met Morgan, who cycled in and out of treatment more than 10 times before Healing Housing. Today, she's a proud, sober, working mom. Jessica, one of our first graduates, who will tell you that being in jail saved her life, is now a paralegal, married, full-time mom to her 2 adorable daughters, and has been sober 5 years. Jennifer, who was found by her young son in a comatose state about 3 years ago, now is just shy of 3 years of sobriety. She's thriving as a businesswoman and a mother. Many of our graduates now work in the recovery field, helping others to conquer this disease. Many of our current participants are here today in the opening chapters of similar stories of hope. What sets us apart is the length of time that folks stay with us and the services they are provided while here. As we all know, everything now costs far more than it did 5 years ago. Our services have increased, and therefore our cost per person has increased by 2, doubled. The truth is that all the indicators tell us that mental health struggles and addiction rates will continue to rise because of COVID's impact on all of us these past couple years. So as we look ahead to Healing Housing's next 5 years, we know that the need for our services will grow exponentially. Because we know that this program works, we look forward to helping the next 150 women heal. We will continue to research best practices, offer continuing education for our staff, create partnerships in the community, and implement ways to best support the beautiful women in our care. So if you're accustomed to giving a certain amount as a gift, I humbly ask you to consider what would happen to your life versus the life of a woman in recovery if you were to double it. If that is daunting, and I know that it is, it could be spread out over time as a monthly gift. Last week, I did a devotion about hope at Healing Housing. I asked those present what it felt like to be supported by total strangers. Here are some of their responses. I don't feel like I'm just a junkie. Okay, all of these are going to get me, and I wrote this. It doesn't feel punitive. Out of respect for what is given me, I believe in myself. And lastly, my family wouldn't even do that. In the book A Lively Hope by J. Daniel Day, there's a quote I love that reflects what we are doing here today. A lively hope, the kind that sings in the night and stares down long odds in clear daylight. The kind that dares to dance before the fiddler has even picked up his bow and won't stop talking until the rite has been done. You will find an envelope, which is by now probably buried under all kinds of things, but it's white and matches your tablecloth. Anyway, so the envelopes are on the table. The instructions are on the back of your program. I was supposed to bring a program up here, but I forgot. You'll see that you can donate online by going to love-breakfast.org and pressing the button that says Give Here. Or you can scan the QR code on your program with your phone, which will take you directly to our giving page. So many ways, so many ways. So please take a moment to consider the impact you can have on not only the life of our participants, but their families, communities, and all who they will inspire by your generosity. Whether you have never donated before or are already a committed giver, we are so grateful for your support, which makes all of this possible for the brave, hardworking women who are welcomed to our home where love lives. And now, while we're pondering in our hearts, Allison is going to share some music with us.
Help but think about my mother so much this morning. Because the truth is, I grew up in a terrible, addicted, alcoholic household. I will not stand here and tell you that she was not a full participant in that relationship. It ended the way it ended, and that was very tragic. But as a child who grew up basically without a mother, I wish that she had had access to the help that she needed because she was too ashamed to go to her family. She had been to her family. They didn't get it. They didn't understand why she couldn't just get away from my father. She did. He followed her. So the idea of safe housing, I can't express to you how important that is. And I was also thinking this while this video was playing, and this has been on my mind for a while because I have a son named John Henry. He just turned 12 years old, but he has level 3 autism. He's non-speaking. And I look at him, I wrote a whole book about it. When I look at him, I worry so much about what will happen to him after I'm no longer, or his father is no longer able to care for him, because one of my greatest fears is that he will end up in a place that will not be nice for him. And he is the sweetest soul who deserves nothing but softness and goodness, like we all do. But it gives me hope to know that there are people like you and there are organizations like this that do everything they can do, because the truth is that some of us need help. And the idea in our culture is that you shouldn't need help. You should find those bootstraps and you should pull them up and you should do it all on your own. But what happens when people don't understand that a lot of people with severe abuse and trauma can't find their feet without somebody showing them where they are? So healing takes a long time. I didn't write this song until I was 47 years old. It took me that long to understand just a thimbleful of what I was facing and what it was going to take for me to get back to my true self. I hope I'm on my way now. Thanks, y'all. And thank you, Healing Housing, for everything you do for this community and for all the hope you bring into the world. No matter how I try, I wind up on the ground, another orphan waiting in the lost and found. Over and over, I take it on the chin, fists up to the world, fighting the fight I cannot win. Help me lay my weapons down, help me give the love I feel, help me hold myself with kindness, help me remove all of the false and show me what is real. Oh Lord, help me heal. Yeah, I'm tough, but I wasn't born this way. I grew hard because I had to, carrying the weight. I wanna let go, I wanna set it free, but everywhere I turn, the fight follows me. Help me lay my weapons down, help me give the love I feel, help me hold myself with kindness, help me remove all of the faults and show me what is real. Oh Lord, help me heal. Help me lay my weapons down, help me give the love I feel, help me hold myself with kindness and help me
remove all other faults, and show me what is real. Oh Lord, help me heal. Oh Lord, help me heal. Y'all have a beautiful day.
Okay, I didn't cry the entire program, but I almost came unglued there. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Before we say goodbye, I want to thank some of the people who show up for Healing Housing. Day in and day out. And sometimes at night and on the weekends. Behind the scenes, like our incredible board of directors and our incredible staff and our volunteers. I am so humbled, and I am so grateful, and for the incredible women that I get to be a part of your lives for 6 months to a year and beyond. Thank you.
And thank you to the many volunteers. Sometimes you don't know who you are. For example, right now, there's a bigger envelope on your table that will hold all the smaller envelopes that you've hopefully filled out. So if you would like to be in charge of the big envelope, you can take the flowers home. Anyway, that's how we do things around here. Anyway, but seriously, well, I mean, I was serious, but thank you to those of you who are watching online. We appreciate you so very much. And thank you to the people who showed up bright and early to set up. If you know Roseanne Schenk, she is, in my view, the coffee angel. And every year for 5 years, she wakes up at 4 in the morning and starts brewing for us. So I hope you drank a lot. Anyway, so I'm sorry, this is like not even anywhere. Thank you, everyone, for being here. You have no idea how much we appreciate you and love you.
Thank you. Yeah, here you go. And she is not for hire as a bus driver. We've got her, so don't think you can go asking for that.
Oh, but come on, that was like my favorite thing.
Thank you, everyone. Drive safe.